Mr. Chairman, let me turn my attention to Vice Chair Barr for a minute here on I think the importance of Basel III being reproposed. Honestly, I think slicing it, dicing it, trying to figure out how to make some changes and put it back on the market, I think that's probably the wrong strategy, the wrong approach. From my perspective, it would be much better to have a full reproposal, allowing people to have another window of opportunity to actually have input in the process of the changes. Frankly, Basel III to me, thankfully, Fed, you, Chairman Powell have made a prudent decision to take another look at the proposal. That's a prudent decision. I think a better approach is to actually put it back out on the market for comment so that more people have a better engagement in this process. That anything other than that, I think, is nibbling around the edges and will not produce the type of product that is in America's best interest. Thoughts?
Thank you very much, Senator Scott. We're really focused right now on the substance. We had a lot of deep and thoughtful comments on the proposal. We're trying to work our way through that substance now, reach agreement across the agencies and with my board on the substance. And after we're done with that process of understanding where we want to go on the substance, we'll then determine what process we think is appropriate. If a reproposal ends up being appropriate, we'll do that. We're not yet at the stage where we're thinking about precisely what process we'll use.
I certainly think the more, obviously you understand this, but for the Americans watching C-SPAN for reasons that go beyond my ability to comprehend, I think it's important for us to note that the capital standards within Basel III park so much capital on the sidelines that those Americans perhaps watching C-SPAN looking for their first mortgage will have less capital to actually become a part of the American dream, to actually earn equity in this nation by having a home. Those small businesses like me that changed my financial life and the life of my family, specifically my mom's, by starting a business and being successful, that capital that allows folks like me coming from poverty to experience the American dream because you have the ability to get a loan, parking more capital on the sidelines really is a way of disenfranchising more Americans and not necessarily making the system more fair. Thank you for your comments and thank you for the call and having a conversation about this really important underlying issue that will have real impact on our economy. To Chairman Grunberg, the offices haven't failed. You have. It's that simple. An environment that is so corrosive, so toxic, that employees, and I just want to read this from the report because the level of intimidation that is embedded in the culture after a decade of your leadership, you can't just unravel it. You can't unscramble that egg. The going to classes and looking for ways to have anger management and solve that problem. If it takes you a decade to recognize that, perhaps you need a whole few years away from the FDIC to figure that out on your own. But why punish the FDIC and the American people and, frankly, the employees? Here's a quote from one employee. Nobody trusts those in charge. And even though it is not getting into the hands of senior executive, I'm using VPN and someone else's cell phone to write this. I still fear that talking will come back to haunt me. Those are chilling words. I have so many complaints and concerns through the report that it's just hard to read them all. A woman learned that a field office supervisor had romantic feelings for her and would send her flowers. He would demand to know who she was talking to and what she was talking about. He called and texted her at work and at home. During mandatory telework, he would insist that she stay on team videos for hours on end, directing her to leave the video on when she left to use the restroom. She became so fearful, she went to the police and considered seeking a restraining order. She hesitated to file a complaint with the FDIC because she believed the agency would believe him over her if she reported it. Eventually, when she did work up the courage to file, She said managers dismissed her concerns. The report concludes she continues to live in fear. You got 5,000 employees. Plus, and the strategy is to give them more pay, more promotion, and to transfer for folks maybe in leadership. If after a decade of toxicity and corrosion, 5,000 employees, the best we can do is find a scapegoat, shift the blame, you should resign.